What is going on, Reds? Today's podcast is proudly supported by the legends over at manscaped.com. These are the best in male below the waist grooming, and let me tell you, they are unbelievable. I used to use an old face trimmer to do me balls, and the amount of times I'd snag myself, I'd cut myself, and it just looked like a mess when it was done. But Manscaped, they don't have none of that. Oh, no. They have got a brand new lawnmower 3.0 with a 7,000 RPM motor, right? It's got 90 minutes runtime, and the best feature about it all, it's waterproof. You haven't got to shave your balls anymore and then try and clean it up and put it all in the bin. You stand in your shower, you have your shower on, and you just shave away. All your hairs go down the plug hole with the water. It's just so easy. And then when you get out, you put some ball deodorant on, put some ball toner on, and you know what? Your balls smell heavy. It's nearly summer. You don't want a smelly gooch now, do you? You can get 20% off and free shipping with my discount code REDS. That's 20% off and free shipping with discount code REDS. You know your balls will thank you. Now let's get into the podcast.
The Redscast Podcast.
It is the Redscast Podcast. I thought this was going to be a bad podcast, to be honest, just slagging everything off. I mean, it might be, but it's a bit better, innit? I'm joined by Dean. It's a bit better. What do you think?
I don't think it's a bit better. I don't, because, like, at the end of the day, like, Matty, is that, he's calling it off, they're not going to do it. Great. But the intention was there. Do you know what I mean? And he went that far. He went as far as making a logo, making a website, coming out and announcing it. Now, everyone says it's a power play. You don't go that far without knowing what your legal rights are and who you're going to piss off. Like, I'm just still shocked he went that far. Do you know what I mean?
How much can they get wrong? Like, because it's not the first time they got things wrong, and we always you've done a blog about it, and it says we've turned a blind eye to things and that because we've been winning. But this is just so much more serious, isn't it? Like we couldn't have took a blind eye to it.
I think the fact we've turned a blind eye to a lot is the reason that they thought they could get away with it. Like I honestly think that they thought that they could do this, and I want to say they've taken this for granted. I don't think they have. I just don't think they give a fuck. Like, I just think that they'd have done it knowing full well that if they'd have forced it through, everyone would have went anyway. Because let's face it, they would have. People are that desperate to get back in grounds that you go and watch Liverpool play fucking Exeter City every week for the rest of the year if you had to. Yeah. Everyone's that desperate. And on top of that, I like, at the end of the day, it would have made it the first game, but people have paid a lot of money for season tickets for next season already.
Yeah,
there's no way to give them season tickets back, and this is part of the problem. This is why I said in the blog that we are as complicit as Sky and UEFA and as FIFA and the Premier League and the media. The fans are just as bad, and everyone's saying around the page, and the fans are rightly so, because the fans put up a massive fight on social media. What happened at Ellen Road and the Stamford Bridge last night was admirable. But at the same time, like, for so long, we've allowed them to get away with this shit. We're charging £77 for match tickets. We're putting tickets up to astronomical prices. We're moving us around Anfield, moving season tickets around Anfield, so they're not sitting with people to go into cup finals knowing we're only getting a 10,000 seat allocation in a 60,000 seater stadium. And we all fucking went along with it. We all paid the money. I paid can't speak, I'm not angry. I paid £150 for my ticket to Madrid. £150. And I got the lower end tickets. There was lads there that paid £450 for the ticket behind the goal in a 10,000 seat allocation. And we all fucking did it. We're all just as bad. We all allowed it. And if you will allow it, you condone it. And if you condone it, they will do it again and again and again. And this is the point I made in the blog, is that we can't allow this to happen anymore. We cannot allow these clubs to do shit like this, to play fast and loose with our clubs. Our clubs are not theirs. They fund them. They buy them. Brilliant. We welcome your investments. We welcome your input, and we welcome your guidance. But when you start playing with the club's future so that you can earn a quick buck so that it benefits nobody but you. So it's not on your pocket. It's on your dime. You bought our history and you were willing to change and rewrite our history so that you could make money. That is not right. It's not fair. And only us, because you fake people in UEFA and not do anything about it, only us can do something about it. It's on us this time.
But with UEFA, like you just said there, their tickets and everything about UEFA's corrupt as fuck. So it was frustrating in that sense as well, weren't it? Seeing them coming out, calling them for all sorts, and you don't know who to believe really, because it's like, well, they're corrupt from the off because they got Perez, UEFA corrupt anyway, and your head's just chocolate with it, and it's just like, what's going to happen? And did you honestly think we would have got kicked out of the league?
I wouldn't blame them if they did. I hope they do. And it sounds like I'm turning my back on my club, but I am, because they turn their back on us. So, yeah. and everyone, I don't agree with people turning around saying you're only punishing the fans, not players. Well, by proxy, yeah, but how fucking else are you going to punish them? What are you going to do? Like, you can fine them as much money as you want. You have a bottomless pit of money. They'll be absolutely fine. Look at City. City got fined £10 million last year for breaching FFP. That's nothing to them. That's pocket money. They find that down the back of the couch. Do you know what I mean? That's fucking nothing. You can find Liverpool. Liverpool can come out and cry poverty as much as they want. They're not. You can't tell me Liverpool got no money in the bank after the couple of years we've just had. With the prize money we brought in, with the players we've sold and made money off. We bought no players last summer, but we sold players. We bought no players the summer before. Tell a lie, we bought Sepp Vanderberg for £1.3 million. We got Adrian on a free.
There's been Jota as well, hasn't there, and Thiago?
And you can't sit there and tell us that they have no money. With the prize money they brought in, with the broadcast rights deals they get, with the players they sell, with the match day revenue, like, you've missed out on match day revenue this season, but with the match day revenue from the Champions League, from the Premier League, from the season before, winning the Premier League last season, you can't sit there and cry fucking poverty because they're insulting our intelligence when they do that. So there's a bottomless pit of money there. The only way you can punish these clubs is by relegating them. And it seems extreme, Matty, but I honestly think they need bringing down a peg or two. These owners need bringing down. You need to know that they don't hold all the cards. They are not in charge. You sign up to a league, you sign up to a regulator, and when you break that regulator's rules, you have to suffer the consequences. Liverpool, Man United, Manchester City, Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal, Chelsea, all have to suffer those consequences as badly as one of them. That's the only thing that pisses me off, is that it seems like Liverpool, Man United seems to be getting a rougher ride, and that it seems like Chelsea and Spurs and Arsenal and City, everyone's staring around and saying like, oh, he was dragged along, he only came along because he thought he'd get left behind. Get the fuck, they're all as bad as each other.
Most of them are Americans as well, aren't they? So,
say again, sorry.
Most of them are Americans, aren't they? Most of the owners.
Maybe that is what, maybe it is because they're Americans. Maybe it is. To be fair, Spurs are American owned. Daniel Levy calls the shots, he's just a chairman. He doesn't own Spurs. Spurs owned by an American fella called Joe Lewis. Why aren't they getting dragged through the mire? Why aren't City getting dragged through the mire? They agreed. They were in it. Chelsea were in it. Arsenal were in it. Because Arsenal apologised, it's sound. Because Chelsea backed out first. Because Chelsea did it and shit themselves, it's sound. Because City were the next to back out, it's sound. But Liverpool and United deserve worse punishments than all those clubs, even though they were all in it together. It's absolute bollocks. They all need punishing just as harsh as each other. And I'm not trying to make this a tribal thing. It's just that Liverpool and United seem to be getting a harsher deal. Everyone should have just as harsh a deal because they were all in it together.
It would be interesting, wouldn't it, to relegate us all? Only 3 teams come up a season. Who comes up first? Be interesting, wouldn't it?
Exactly, it's an arms race. And maybe if you do relegate us, it punishes the teams below us because we will have a monopoly on whatever leagues we go in. Liverpool, United going, if all 6 teams, let's say, go into the conference, all those 6 teams are going to rinse the conference. Do you know what I mean? And then who do you take out of the conference? Well, you probably move everyone up, I suppose, but we like, can you imagine Liverpool going and playing fucking Weymouth, or going down to Kings Lynn, or Man United welcoming the fucking mighty Sutton United.
The Premier won't do it though, will they? Because if they take us out the league, what is the Premier League without us? So the owners ultimately do have power in that sense, because if them six are together, the Premier League without them six clubs is not the Premier League, is it? Not the best.
But they think that as well, Matty, and this is the mentality we need to get away from, is that everyone seems to think that the Premier League needs these six clubs, and we need to realise that we can't think that way. Even if that is the truth, we can't allow them to know that, or we can't allow them to think that, because they think they hold all the cards. And this is like, this will come back around. This will happen again. This European Super League bollocks, version 1 hasn't worked out, but version 1.1 will be back soon. And version 1.1 might be a little bit better looking. It might look like they're going to allow more teams in. They might say, oh, instead of inviting 5 teams, we'll allow 10 teams to qualify, and we'll go back to the Champions League original format of group stages. But those 12 teams, the root of that competition, the core, stay. They are in every year. We'll allow, let's say, 16 teams to qualify, and we'll have an original Champions League format. Well, no, it's still the exact same principle. It's still 12 clubs rinsing everybody else and cancelling out everyone else and doing the classic Tory push, gimme, take. Do you know what I mean? They're still pushing everyone away and widening that gap. They still want to have the cake and eat it and play in the Premier League. It can't happen again. We can't allow these owners, and it's not the clubs, it's the owners. We can't allow them to think that they can get away with doing this shit, with putting this on us, with putting us and the rest of this country and the rest of the continent, and the rest of the sport worldwide. Because that's what makes this sport brilliant. That's why it's different. And people might like the American system, and that's absolutely fine. They'll go and watch American sport. You can go and watch the MLS. You can go and watch the NFL. That's great. That's the alternative. But it's just the alternative. It's not the norm. And they can't come in and make this the norm, because it's not right. It's not right in this country, where the underdog can rise up, where Leicester City can win the league, where a Brighton can go to Stamford Bridge on a Tuesday night and get a 0-0 draw, which seals the safety. You can't do that, and you have to be made aware that you can't do that. So they have to suffer whatever punishment's coming their way. Now, as you said, I am sorry to rant. I really am, because I know you've probably got strong views on this as well. But I've just fucking took off here like a rocket. As you said, they will get relegated to whatever league they get relegated to. And as they've made us all aware, 3 into 6 in this case, because 3 teams get promoted, 3 into 6 doesn't go. So 3 teams are going to be left behind for the season at least. Now, let's say they go in a conference where only 2 teams get brought up. Which 2? Do you know what I mean? And
all the players that go as well, though, wouldn't they?
Say again, sorry.
All the players that get off, though, wouldn't they? So it wouldn't be the big 6, because all them players wouldn't go and get relegated that far down.
No, exactly. Can you imagine City taking fucking Kevin De Bruyne to the conference and Van Dijk not rocking up in the conference? It wouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Of course he'd leave, and you know what? We'd have to sell them, because the prize money is the same. I think the prize money in the conference is something like, if you get promoted, it's less than £1 million. It's something like £200,000 if you get promoted to the Football League. But with that comes higher TV deals for the Football League coverage. So can you imagine if you're getting promoted from the conference and getting £200,000 prize money? That's not even paid for Van Dijk's 1 week's wages.
Yeah.
So we'd have to sell those players, because I know I've just sat here and said you've got a bottomless pit of money. They're not going to invest it. They're not going to put it into us. And financial fair play dictates that they can't anyway put personal investments in. So you would have to sell the likes of Van Dijk, Mane, Salah, Firmino. They'd all go anyway, and be probably stuck with the fucking under 21s or under 18s. You'd still back them to get promoted, but all them players will fuck off. And but that's the punishment they have to suffer now.
Was you disappointed with the players though? I'm made up with the players, and it's not their fault. But I mean, Henderson and that came out, and there's been loads on Twitter about it. But then I was disappointed that they didn't wear them t-shirts with Leeds. Why they didn't stand as one? Because it was like, they obviously did have strong views, and that would have been a massive statement for the players. I mean, I know Henderson was the one who rallied the captains together, but if they would have put them T-shirts on, it would have been a huge statement. It's a big, like, fuck you to the owners. I mean, they've already done a fuck you to the owners, so it wouldn't have been any difference anyway, would it?
No, I understand with the T-shirts. I think it's a bit of an empty gesture, like myself. Like, I think it was just they say we've been stung with the fucking T-shirts thing in the past, haven't we? But like, I think, to be fair, like, the players on the day of the game, they were a bit like rabbits in the headlights. And Klopp, he knew they got fed to the wolves. He knew they were turning up on what was coming their way. So I think the player, and this is just personal opinion, I have no basis for what I'm about to say, but I think he turned up and went straight on the defensive. I mean, Klopp went straight in the defensive and started taking shots at Gary Neville. And I don't think that was anything other than Klopp felt he was going to get bombarded with questions, and he felt he was going to have to defend the indefensible. And the best form of defence for him was attack. Yeah. And I felt like the players felt the same way with the T-shirts. They felt like those T-shirts were put in the dressing room to get at them. That's what it come across like in interviews with Klopp. He said himself that he walked in and the T-shirts were there. And I think that they felt that T-shirts were put there as a message to them, as opposed to them being part of the message. So I think that not wearing the T-shirts was a huge fuck you to the rest of the league, even though it was apparent after the game, before the game, that they were not for it at all. Now, I had this conversation yesterday with my boss in work about, well, we had it on Twitter actually, about Jordan Henderson, because I thought he was fantastic. As you said, he rallied the troops, he organised, he mobilised the rest of the captains and sort of unionised them in a way on Twitter. And I think that him doing that was a commendable thing. But at the same time, just get that off, sorry. At the same time, I can understand why people think that was too slow, if you get me. Yeah. It was the day after, do you know what I mean? It was the day after it all came out, and it was his club, and I can understand why people think that wasn't quick enough. But put yourself in their shoes. They're taking a risk. They're going against their employer publicly and telling their employer that they don't want something their employer's going to make them do. They're refusing to work, essentially. Yeah. That's how it could be construed. Now, you can't blame them at all for sleeping on it, looking at it the next day through fresh eyes in the cold light of day with a cool head, taking some advice on it from the PFA, from legal representation, seeing what their rights are to get the message across that they don't agree with it, but at the same time, not cost themselves their jobs, or not cost themselves a week's wages, or not make themselves look unprofessional, which is probably worse than all of that, to be fair to a football, because you've got enough money to pay for all that. So I think, to be fair to Jordan Henderson, I think people need to have a little bit of empathy for the position that these players were in. But, on the back of that, the message he put out was simple. And it was effective wearing it. There was no emotion in it. It was just, we're not for this. We are fully for the club, but we're not for this.
Yeah, I mean, there was uproar last night with that statement. It was a joke. It was like 47 characters or something. And at least Arsenal apologised. But then I woke up this morning and seeing John Henry's video. But for me, it just felt as though he felt as though he had to do it. It's not something he wanted to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. He did that. Like, I've got a couple of points on this, surprisingly. First of all, there's no way he does that without the uproar on Twitter about how shit that statement was. Yeah. That statement, to me, stunk of bitterness. Now, we know full well what they were calling us. We were legacy fans. Okay? We were the old traditionists who like it the way we are. They made us out to be our curmudgeons who were spoiling all the fun. Do you know what I mean? We were stopping progress. We were stopping the game from moving forward. And for that, we were going to cause these clubs to go bankrupt. That's what they thought. That's what they meant when they called us legacy fans. That's what they meant when they were saying they were going after the 16 to 24 demographic. And that's exactly what they meant when they said they were going to shorten games down to suit that demographic. Now, that statement last night, where there was no mention of the fans, there was no apology, there was no acknowledgement of what he'd done, there was just, we're leaving after taking advice from people. Didn't say who those people were, he just said stakeholders. It was, again, a closed shop. It was closing ranks around themselves. It was, well, now we're going to have to fucking leave because no one wants it.
Yeah.
Everyone's fuming, so we'll have to leave. That's the feeling I got out of it. And maybe I'm being cynical, and maybe I'm reading into it, and maybe I'm just being a bitch. Do you know what I mean? But
I completely agree with you.
That's the feeling I took from it. Now, there was murder over it because he never apologised. Wake up this morning, there's a video apology. Now, in every way, I don't see, this is the thing. Usually you look at an apology like that and go, oh, he's sincere, he's took the blame. Yeah. I can't believe a word he says now. And to me, he sits there and he puts it all on him because he knows that that's what the fans are doing. But he's not, FSG is not one man.
Yeah,
it isn't.
Isn't it?
It's a board of people. So for him to sit there and take the blame and apologise to Billy Hogan, who's the CEO, who's probably fucking in on it, is another insult to our intelligence. Another insult, another fucking slap across the face.
The only person he didn't mention was Michael Edwards, weren't it? Didn't mention him at all.
He didn't mention Michael Edwards. And whatever, I don't know what his feelings are. Maybe there might be more into that. Maybe we're just reading a bit too much into it.
Yeah.
He's a director in football. He doesn't have to front anything. No one sees him. His job isn't in the boardroom. Maybe he doesn't feel like he has to apologise to Michael. We don't know. Maybe he thinks Michael Edwards is a cunt. Who knows? But he sat there and he apologised and took it all on him. And maybe I'm being a bit of a twat, but it didn't seem sincere to me. It was too dramatic. It was too. He seemed like he was getting too emotional. Maybe he was getting emotional, but to me, it looked like he was trying to turn on waterworks and he was trying to come across too sincere, and it looked fake. It looked plastic. It looked exactly what he's shown himself to be, which is a liar. He sits there and he apologises and he says it's all on him, and he expects us to think that he went behind the back of a board of directors who all have to vote on something like this because it affects them all. That's how business works. That's how PLCs work. You cannot do something without the approval of a board. He's insulting our intelligence. He's lying to our face, and he thinks we're soft. Now we can't. Now that is exactly why I'm completely turning against him. And he's not the only one. Perez did it on Sunday night when he tells us flat out that these clubs can't back out. They've all signed contracts on Saturday. But well, now here we are, 24 hours later, 6 clubs have left, and no repercussions. He tells us that Real Madrid are bankrupt. There's no money. They're going to be dead by 2024. But today they've signed David Alaba till 2026 on wages well over $100,000 a week. Free transfer granted, but wages well over $100,000 a week.
Yeah.
He tells us that. What was the other thing he fucking lied about? He tells us that PSG, Bayern and Dortmund haven't been invited, yet we have written documentation saying that PSG have 14 days to accept the invitation, that Bayern and Dortmund have 30 days to accept the invitation. They're liars. They are proven, bona fide, bare-faced, pathological liars. And we can't let these people get away with this shit anymore, lying to our faces, taking the future of our club in their hands. Can't happen no more.
So it's fair to say then you're FSG out.
Oh, absolutely. and do you know what's more devastating about it, Matty, right, is that like I was fairly FSG in.
Yeah.
Fairly, and we all saw the FSG out brigade. And to be fair, if we admitted to ourselves, we made some decent points. Do you know what I mean? We laughed at them because we were successful.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to do this self-promotion thing, but going back to the blog I wrote last night, it's just, we laughed at them because we were doing well, and we turned a blind eye to everything because we were successful. We bought no players, but that was sound because we had a winning team. FSG have got no money. Well, now they're saying they haven't got any money. And he tried to make the Super League, so maybe they don't have any fucking money. Maybe they're just very greedy and want more money than what they've got. Yeah. But at the same time, now it feels like my ma's cheated on me dad. That's what it feels like. Your mum, and I say your ma very specifically, right? Your mum's always the rock. She's always the one that holds the family together. She's not perfect. But if something's ever wrong in your life, you always go back to your mum. You do.
Yeah.
But now, out of the blue, she's got a new fella. Behind everyone's back, she's been seeing this new fella. And she's moving in with this new fella. And she's fucking you and your family off. She doesn't want really anything to do with you. She's going to take you anyway for the money. Because she'll get benefits for you. So she's going to take you. And by the way, you're changing your last name to this fella's name.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. That's how I feel. I feel like he's turned her back on us and betrayed us and stabbed us. He's told us one thing and turned us around and stabbed us in our back. He's completely betrayed us. And this is why I'm FSG out. I can't believe another word he say. We've let too much slide. We've let the £77 ticket slide. He needs to start being held to account for it. He can do U-turns all he wants. He can't U-turn from this. He can't apologise from this for how far they were willing to go.
For me, though, I just don't think they sell us because they've got that stand getting built soon, the Annie Road, and getting extended. They value us at, what, £2 billion? Who's got to spare £2 billion laying around in the bank to come and buy a Liverpool Football Club who isn't as corrupt as them, who are in it for the money? The only people are people maybe like the Saudis with oil money, but then their morals probably go against everything Liverpool stands for, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you do, lad? I mean, if someone comes up to you, right, said, I want to buy your car, what are you going to say to them? What you say? Nah, don't want to sell my car.
Yeah.
It's my car, I don't want to sell it. I get me from A to B. Now, say someone comes up to them and goes, I've got £500 million here, I want to buy your club. You just go, no, don't want to sell my club. Why not? Because I'm getting loads of money out of this club. Yeah. And it pays for me to buy more clubs, and it pays for me to go on my holidays, and it pays for me massive house, and it pays for me to pay for the Red Sox. So, at the end of the day, we are at the whims of FSG. We can't force them out. And people, I think this is a common misnomer about the Hicks and Gillette thing. We didn't force Hicks and Gillette out. They didn't have the money to keep us, so they had to sell.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we kicked up a fuss, made life difficult for them.
They got took over by the bank, didn't they?
Yeah, the club got repossessed because he didn't have the money to withhold us, and he had to sell in the end. We were sold by Royal Bank of Scotland.
Yeah.
We weren't sold by Hicks and Gillette. They were adamant that they had the money, but RBS said they didn't, and they owed them money, so they repossessed the club, brought us in their own board and their own share. So for as much as we like to think that we forced Hicks and Gillette out, we didn't force Hicks and Gillette out. We had a part to play, but they never sold. We weren't the primary reason. Now, FSG have the money. They have no reason to sell Liverpool. They're pretty comfortable financially. They've got loads of money coming in. They're a sports ventures group. They have no reason to sell Liverpool. So we can kick up. This time it's completely different. We can kick up as much fuss as we want. We can't be sold if they don't want to sell us. The only thing we can do is try and campaign for some kind of legislature, to try and campaign to get some kind of laws passed where the club is a compulsory purchase to the government, and it goes to fans, or it's bought by a British businessman, or it's bought by the government and owned centrally by the government as a heritage of some sort. And the only people on the board are proven businessmen, British businessmen, which is likely now because of Brexit. They'll probably give it to British businessmen to prove a point. And we have some kind of mandatory fan representation. Now, I'm literally just that's all I have on this. I'm literally just spitballing an idea around. But I honestly think it's probably the only way that we can get rid of foreign ownership in this country, namely FSG in our case, but obviously the Glazers are worse from what we've heard. Abramovich is immoral. We have oil money in this country which is immoral and inhumane. Stan Kroenke is a knobhead. The only way we can get rid of them is by government intervention, it seems, because you can't strip someone of their property if you don't want to sell it.
I know, and I think what people need to realise with FSG, what's different as well, is United have been fighting the Glazers for about 10 years, haven't they? And they still haven't sold them, because that FSG can be the same. Why would they sell us? They got that massive kit deal with Nike. they've got Redbird who've probably who's invested now, and there's probably a clause saying they can't sell Liverpool for a certain amount of time. So they LeBron James and that one, obviously they can see the assets rising as the club's getting bigger. They aren't going to want to sell us. So it's not just John Henry who you need to try and being persuaded to sell, is it? It's John Henry, Tom Werner, Bill Bean, is it? Just Dennis LeBron James. It's all these people, and I think people think that if we just have a little protest again, they're going to go, and I think it's going to be a lot harder than that. They sell when they want to sell, like you said.
Yeah, they've got the money to keep us. They don't need to sell. They're in no rush. As I said, Hickson's had to sell. They had no money. These have got the money to keep hold as long as they want. And it's a good point you made about the Glazers, to be fair, because if you remember on Monday Night Football, Gary Neville discussing the Glazers and saying they're steal. They've faced fan backlash before, and they're still there. They've been there 15 years and they're not moving. They won't move because it's a cash cow for them.
They channel the money through that, don't they? For the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They just won a Super Bowl and got Tom Brady and that, but they funneled the money basically through United to improve the NFL team, ultimately.
Because the team was bought on a leverage buyout, the same way Hickson's left bought us, which is all loans. And you need to pay back those loans. So the only way to pay back the loans is to asset strip the club. The club's paying its own loans back. It's paying for its own purchase. So while they may be in a position and at some point might have to sell, at the minute, not really, because that club is continuously making money. It continuously gets into Europe every season. Or there's assets there, and that's the only reason you invest in the playing squad. Really, is it's sort of like collateral for them. If shit goes tits up, you can always sell Donny van der Beek back to someone for what you paid, 40 million. You can always sell Paul Pogba to Real Madrid. You can always sell Harry Maguire. Maybe not get 85 million for him, but you'll get a good little penny for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you have to be in the Champions League every year, which is why you've gone through so many managers, because it looks unlikely. But at the same time, they've sat there in the past and dealt with fan protests and shit being thrown at them, and they've just sat there and took it because they're miles away. They're not dealing with it. They're not there, so they're not asked.
Well, that fella who put his name on the statement, that Joe Glazer, he's only ever done one TV interview ever. Like Gary Neville said on Monday Night Football, didn't he, that the minute he seen his name on it, he knew it was serious.
Yeah, and rightly so. When I didn't even know it was Joe Glazer that was the shit that owned Man United.
Yeah.
I knew there was a Glazer family, and I knew Malcolm Glazer died a few years ago, but I didn't even know it was him that was heading it up. I know he's got a few other brothers. Didn't know it was that one. But to be fair, as Gary Neville said, it was serious at that point, but he's faced all this before. They'll just sit there and take it because they're miles away. And I have a feeling now that with that apology this morning, John Henry does not understand the anger that is towards him in this city now among our fan base. He doesn't understand fully what he's done. And I honestly think he will have the brass neck to turn up as often as possible to show that and he'll do it as a PR stunt to show, oh, we're all together, but I'm still here, I'm not going anywhere, I am for you, I am trying to do the best with this club. He'll come to as many games as he can.
I thought the opposite, mate.
Say again, sorry.
I thought the opposite. I thought he'd stay away out of fear because he knows the fans are fuming.
Well, this is what will happen eventually, is that at some point the vitriol will become too much and the penny will drop that he's not wanted. And we have to keep that up. This is the point now, is that a lot of people saying, yeah, it starts now and it can't end. This is one of the things, this is part of it, is that we have to keep that up. We have to let him know he's not wanted, he's not welcome. And he can't come back, he can't show his face at Anfield again. We have to basically... Do you remember the story about Tom Hicks' son walking into the stand and getting spat at?
Yeah.
Something like that, it sounds disgusting. Something like that has to happen again. We have to take that much drastic action. He can't be welcome. And I think if that happens, he will fuck off back to Boston and he'll stay there and we won't see him again. And another thing, I'm going off on another tangent here. Another thing that people are underestimating is everyone seems to think that if we piss off FSG too much, they'll cut the funding, they'll stop paying for things. No, that you completely misunderstand business if that's what you think.
It's going to keep funding us because it's appreciation. The assets going up, isn't it? The more we do well.
Exactly. Keep investing. Now, just because we don't like them you can't say that they'll fuck off and stay away if we don't like them, but they'll stop our funding. That one, it defeats one, basically outweighs the other. One cancels out the other. They'll fuck off, they'll sit over there, and they'll fund us, and they'll give us the money, because we're still the cash cow, and they'll still milk that cow until the milk runs dry. And that's exactly what will happen. They will not sell us until we start underperforming. And maybe at some point, maybe if we do stop qualifying for Europe, and get to the point where we're under odds in the back end of our leash, where we have a good couple of years outside of the European places, and we start losing money, maybe then they'll look to cash in. But I honestly think we're a long-term investment for them, and they've seen how well we can do. And while that's in their memory, how well we can do, they'll always keep us, because the potential for profit is always there. While these fans do this, and while we have potential to go as far as we can.
Well, he's always said, hasn't he? It's a long-term project. In that video, he even said it's still a long-term goal. So for him, I honestly don't think he'll sell us anytime soon, because also no one can afford us as well.
No.
So who's going to buy Liverpool? And he's not going to give people. There's been talk of a 50+1 like there is in Germany. As much as I appreciate that German model, it physically couldn't. What businessman who owns a football club in England is going to say to the fans, "You can have 51% of my club for nothing"? Because none of the fans. To have 50% of Liverpool, it's going to cost you £1 billion. None of the fans have got that to have the 50% model.
No, he basically has to give away half the club for that.
Yeah.
So he basically has to give away half the club, or he can try and fleece it to us. And as you said, he's going to have us, the fans, between us, however many million of us around the world, are going to have to raise £1 billion. It's not doable. Even with 200, I don't know how many million people there is in the world to support Liverpool. I'd probably guess around 50 to 100 million people worldwide. It's physically impossible. Even if we all donate to the tenner each. Do you know what I mean? Pay a tenner, you get your membership. That makes you what in Spain you call a socio. And you're allowed to vote for the president. But then, that, as you said, that model doesn't work over here. The German model doesn't work over here because it's a completely different economic system. They are much more left-leaning in Germany than what we are over here. Over here, we are very much a right-leaning capitalist economy. It's much more of a free market, whereas in Germany, it's not. It's much more socialist in a way. It's not. Maybe socialist is the wrong word. Maybe it's too extreme a word, but it is. It's more so than here. So we can't really do that. It's impossible. It wouldn't work. And at the same time, we can't raise the money. He's not going to give away half his club. And this is why it has to be government legislature. It has to come in under government's enforcement. We can't. And I don't know how they do it. And I imagine with the pandemic and the way the economy is, it's basically the last thing on the agenda to buy football clubs. But it probably will cost the government. But it would be worth it because we'd be seen as a heritage institution. And that, to be fair, Matty, that's what these clubs are. Yeah. They are the history. They're not just places to go on a Saturday where you can have a little bit of recreational fun and you can watch your team and then you go out, if you don't win, bloody hell, you go home, you have your fish and chips, you have your pints and you fuck off home and you forget about it. It's not as simple as that. What these clubs are basically museums. Anfield's been around for 140 years, something like that, since Everton were born.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? For Old Trafford's been around for nearly 100 years. And we have some newer stadiums like Arsenal's, the Emirates and the Etihad and whatever else, and the Spurs, and they're great stadiums. They're fucking architectural marvels, and they will eventually have their own history. In 20, 30 years' time, they will be museums.
Yeah.
But, right now they're not, but eventually they will be. But that's how we have to treat football clubs. They are part of the culture of this country. They're part of the Liverpool and Everton are part of the fabric of this city. You go abroad, you ask someone abroad to give you 3 things you know about Liverpool. You say the Beatles, Liverpool and Everton. That's what you relate this city to. Without Liverpool and Everton in this city, what the fuck are we?
Half crumbles, doesn't it?
It does. And it brings so much money to the city. The tourism brings so much money to the city. So a part of the economy of the city, as well as the culture of the city. as well as a landmark in the city. These clubs are not just businesses. To these men, we are a business. We're not. To the people of the city, and it sounds cheesy, to the people of the city, these clubs are everything. There's hardly anyone in Liverpool who isn't a football fan. Yeah. And they're either red or they're blue. You don't support anyone outside the city. So try telling us that the clubs are businesses, and like any business can fold like that. Or like any business, if you don't like what's going on, you go and find another business to take your custom to. Yeah. So as much as I admire everything Everton do, and everything you've done over the past 48 hours, and I think that you really are a club, I shouldn't say it on the Liverpool podcast, but they're a club that everyone should aspire to be for the work you do off the pitch. They're a club that we should all look up to in that sense. And for everything you do, you would never fucking catch me in Goodson in a blue shirt. Not as easy as if you don't like it, fuck off somewhere else. Mm-hmm. It's not as easy as that.
While all this went on, though, UEFA sneaked through the new Champions League format, which to me is basically the Super League anyway, just on a lower scale. There's more money in it. There's teams can qualify based on the UEFA coefficients if they don't get top four. So if we could finish 10th one year, because we've got a good UEFA coefficient rating, we could qualify for the Champions League. It's a joke, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the Super League with two major differences. So first of all, there's more teams. So the Super League got 20, this has got 36. Secondly, there's only two teams that automatically qualify, and it's different teams every year, possibly. But two teams still automatically qualify, even when you don't deserve it. So, in a sense, it's a closed shop, and it's exactly what I've been saying to Super League in the past however many days. It's just that there's less teams that automatically qualify and more teams in the competition overall. Now, just because the numbers differ doesn't mean that the principle is different. The principle is the exact same. And UEFA can sit there and pontificate about how terrible these clubs are and how Sefferin thinks that he's sitting on snakes and he couldn't see it, and that they're all liars and they're all whatever. They're fucking liars as well. They're just as bad. And when I said before that the fans are complicit, they're worse than us. And when I said the fans are complicit, I obviously mean on the lowest possible level.
What is going on, Reds? Today's podcast is proudly supported by the legends over at manscaped.com. These are the best in male below the waist grooming, and let me tell you, they are unbelievable. I used to use an old face trimmer to do me balls, and the amount of times I'd snag myself, I'd cut myself, and it just looked like a mess when it was done. But Manscaped, they don't have none of that. Oh, no. They have got a brand new lawnmower 3.0 with a 7,000 RPM motor, right? It's got 90 minutes runtime, and the best feature about it all, it's waterproof. You haven't got to shave your balls anymore and then try and clean it up and put it all in the bin. You stand in your shower, you have your shower on, and you just shave away. All your hairs go down the plug hole with the water. It's just so easy. And then when you get out, you put some ball deodorant on, put some ball toner on, and you know what? Your balls smell heavy. It's nearly summer. You don't want a smelly gooch now, do you? You can get 20% off and free shipping with my discount code REDS. That's 20% off and free shipping with discount code REDS. You know your balls will thank you. Now let's get into the podcast.
Right, I'm inside. I've moved. You can't sit there and pontificate about how terrible all these clubs are when they're just as bad. He's the biggest snake in the room, Sefferin. And we have to remember that. And maybe this is one thing the fans can change. Maybe this is one bit of policy that if we show that we can't, like, if we show we're not happy with it, we might get it turned around. We have to be vitriolic about it, and we have to be serious about it, and we have to act extreme for this to happen.
Sky and BT, what pissed me off about them and Gary Neville, and that was trying to take them off the high ground. Gary Neville's bankrolled his team through the National League. Now, you're involved in grassroots yourself. It's like someone bankrolling your team to get you through the divisions in it. That's what he's basically done with his millionaire mate. And then Sky, I'd say, are responsible for most of the money in English football, because they're the ones who in '92 created the Premier League, put all the money into it, and it's like, wow, look at us. And now that's what's ruining the game, innit? Money.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary Neville's probably worse, to be fair, because you could argue that the Premier League has been good for football in this country.
Yeah.
Because it has brought in a lot of money, and maybe not as much of that money is seeped down as it should do, it has been a model for marketing football, which the FA has adopted, which the EFL has adopted. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of led the way. And maybe, all right, I'm not advocating what he's done at all, because what happened was a model. It was similar to this, the way it came about. It's just that instead of Man City, it was Everton at the time. So it was a model the way it came about, and it is a model the way it works to this day, with the big clubs getting bigger money and none of that trickling down to the smaller clubs in the EFL or into the conference. That is wrong. However, the EFL have adopted that model, and to be fair, for all the clubs, the money these clubs get, for example, Everton in the Community might not happen without the money that Everton get from being in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And a lot of charitable organisations don't happen. And Liverpool, for as much as we slated them tonight, do quite a bit of work in the community themselves. So without all that Premier League money, it doesn't work. And to be fair to the Premier League and the coverage, it's a lot more analytical these days, and football fans are a lot more educated. And for as much as we moan about how much football's on the telly and moving kick-offs around or stuff like that, for an armchair fan, you get to see more footy, don't you?
Yeah.
And maybe for a match-going fan, it's a bit of a nightmare getting to grounds at 8 o'clock on a Monday night, especially away grounds. You know, we have to take a day off work. It's a lot of money to get down there. And obviously we have the £30 rule, but that was never the case for a long time. So I obviously see that argument, but we could also argue that it's not that bad in the long run, especially for people like us who basically grew up on the Premier League. Yeah. I was only one in 1992 when the Premier League was formed, so I don't know anything different.
Yeah.
If you know, like I didn't know what football league was like. I don't remember every kick-off being Saturday at 3 o'clock. So, you know, it's you could argue that the Premier League has not been all bad in fairness. But Gary Neville sitting there and having a go at club ownership. All right, he's made a new stadium and he's probably going to offer the surrounding area of Salford, but he's basically took a team from the Northern Premier League to League Two in 5 years, and he's done it through financial doping. He's done the exact same thing that Manchester City have done. He's done the exact same thing that Chelsea have done. Chelsea financially doped themselves to a Champions League win.
Yeah.
Man City have financially doped themselves to, what is it now, 4 Premier League titles since they came in. So he can sit there and he can, although a lot of what he said was right, and I agree with everything he said, I think the lauding of him in particular was a little bit crazy considering how he's got his club to where it is.
I've seen something like the average wage in League Two per player is 23 grand a week with everyone else, and with Salford it's 55 grand a week. It's like the pissing leagues, isn't it?
Is that the wage bill, is it? The wage bill for each club?
Yeah, like the 20 per player, like 23 grand per player, and Salford's was on average 55 grand per player.
Because he's brought in Peter Lim.
Yeah.
He tried to buy Liverpool, Peter Lim.
Yeah, so he's minted.
Yeah, Peter Lim tried to buy Liverpool when Hicks and Gillette were selling. There was Peter Lim. And Andy Walker, who used to play for Everton, who used to play for Celtic, was heading a consortium that summer when we appointed Hodgson. And they were the two. They were serious about buying the club. And for some reason or other, they both pulled out. I can't remember why. I think they proved in the end that Peter Lim didn't have the finance. And to be fair, it's probably been proven since, because he bought Valencia, promised a new ground, and there's half a ground built in Valencia that he can't play in because he didn't have the money to finish it. So we probably dodged the bullet there, to be fair.
They are probably going to go in the Prem though one day, to be fair to them, but it's just bankrolled in it. So
it's financially, again, like City, financially doped the way to the top.
Do you think the Super League was ever going to happen? Because UEFA have now found this pot of cash that they're going to give the clubs more money, and that's to stay, giving them more money to come back and stuff. Do you think it was actually happening, or do you think it was a power play? Like the big six in this country, along with the other clubs, like 12 big clubs have got together and said, we know our worth here, like, let's get more money out of them and blag them with this. Or do you think it actually was a thing?
I think I'm sort of on the fence about it, to be honest. I think it could possibly be a power play, because as you said, it's worked out for them. They got what they wanted. They've got seeding and constant seeding between the 12 of them, because let's face it, those 12 clubs have probably got the highest UEFA coefficients anyway.
Yeah.
So if one of those clubs drops out, and more so for the English team, because there's 6 of them, and 6 doesn't go into 4. In Spain, there's only Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico every year. In Italy, there's only Inter and Juventus. AC can get to 4 because they haven't been in the Champions League for fucking knows how long. They're probably getting it this year on merit, and fair play to them. But their coefficients will be lower than fucking Leicester's, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
In Germany, there's only Bayern. So all the other clubs, I know Bayern win, I'm just using it as an example. All the other clubs, basically they're fucking in it every year anyway. It's only really in England where that's going to happen, because there's only 4 Champions League places, and there's only 6 clubs, and there's 6 clubs that want them. So 2 of those 6 clubs every year have to drop out somehow, because it doesn't happen. And now you've got lads coming up like Leicester. West Ham are having a good, I don't know how it's sustainable. West Ham are going to be in that position, but they're there for now.
Yeah. Everton
are making serious fucking moves. And to be fair to Everton, I honestly think that they will be a force with the manager they've got, with the stadium that they're getting. The owners seem serious about investing in the team. And I think in a couple of years, Everton are going to be a serious threat to the top 4. And again, that's just my personal opinion. So it might be 7 into 4.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about UEFA coefficients. It's in England where that is really aimed at.
So it's just basically like saying all the English can have 6 spaces in a nice way.
Yeah, exactly. Because apart from Dortmund, who are going to drop out this year and go in the Europa League because they're shit, they're not very good this year at all. Everyone else they're all sewn up. They're all mainstays. They're all there every year. PSG, Bayern, Juve, Inter, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, United, Chelsea to an extent, Liverpool to an extent. Arsenal fucked off because the crap. Spurs are crap. But the others, they're all basically there. It's only in England where this is going to really take effect.
Yeah.
So in that sense, if it was a power play, it worked because he got exactly what he wanted. But there's a big part of me, Matty, that thinks that you don't go that far. You don't go that far to risk it.
Yeah.
Just to prove a point. Just as a bargaining chip. You don't, and maybe I'm underestimating how much money these people have. You don't make a website. You don't make a logo. You don't come out publicly without checking your legal standing on things.
Yeah.
Without consulting lawyers and seeing what your position is on getting pulled out of leagues or getting thrown out of competitions or your players being banned from competitions. And they said they expected all that. They said they were aware of what UEFA were going to throw at them. And I really do think that he did, because I think UEFA have had a stiff, and UEFA probably said, floated the idea that this is what would happen if this would ever come to fruition. Because let's face it, a Super League has been mooted for years.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that these knew
what would happen.
That if they went to look with this, they would get kicked out of all UEFA competitions and the players would all get banned. And they've withdrawn from the UEFA Clubs Association, which means that any club that does that can't play in UEFA competitions again. Like, that's
they'll just take us back though, won't they? I know it's serious, but they'll just take us back, wouldn't they?
They'll take us back, and they'll probably banking on that. But to do that in the first place, to risk that, because that's a risk, to think that they'll take us back.
And still, at this moment in time, we can't play in the Champions League or Europa League next year.
Exactly. And it's a fucking huge risk to take, lad. That's a massive risk to take, because not only is it bad for us, the fans, because we won't have, as it stands right now, we'll never see our team win a European Cup again.
Yeah.
So that weekend in Madrid that we all had, that'll never happen again, as it stands.
Yeah.
And that's a huge risk. And you're probably right, they probably will take us back. I agree with that, because you said that, we're massive clubs and apparently they need us, and they know that. But to do that with no guarantee that that's the case, bearing in mind that these are businessmen and they only work on guarantees.
Scary, innit?
That's a scary fucking thought to go through. You don't do any of this without certainty, because the whole point of the Super League was certainty. To be certain that you'd be in it every year, and to be certain that you get £350 million a year. And he named the bank that was giving them the money. They said JP Morgan was giving them the money. You don't pull an organisation like JP Morgan into something like this without absolute certainty that it's going to happen. So there's part of me that thinks that they were deadly serious, this was real, and they fully planned on breaking away. So I think that's my overriding feeling. This is that.
I think they only didn't break away because of the Prem. I think, honestly, if the Prem would have been sound with it, I think they would have broke away. I don't think they're that bothered about the fans. I think they were more bothered about losing the English competition because they knew that would then escalate the fans more.
True, but they had the certainty in England because although the clubs couldn't throw them out the league, although they got threatened with players being banned from competition and that by UEFA, again, they'll have checked that. They wouldn't have done this if that was the case. Yeah. There's no way they would have done this if that was the case because and UEFA are full of shite in that sense, and FIFA are full of shite because they would never ban the players. They need the players. They want the best players at your competition, so there's no way they would have done that. But and I think they knew that, and I think they checked legally on that as well. And the clubs couldn't have voted those 6 clubs out because they need a 75% majority, which means they need 15 clubs. There was only 14 of them. So the clubs were impotent. They were powerless. There was nothing they could do. They knew they had it over the clubs. I honestly think they were deadly serious about this. They were absolutely serious about it. And I think eventually the aim of it was to pull the 20 or 30 biggest teams from the biggest leagues in Europe and pull them out and make a European weekly domestic league where we play each other every week and it is a closed shop. And eventually we have that American system of a draft system where we can just buy players off each other for free, but we buy our draft picks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know I'm going off tangent, but I just want to make another point. Man City own 9 clubs worldwide. And I know this is sort of irrelevant to what we've just been talking about, but it's a point of how serious they were and how much they don't give a shit. Man City City Football Group own 9 clubs worldwide across every continent, really. Now, if the fans would have stopped going in Manchester and there was no appetite for it, and everyone took a stand against Manchester City, what they would have done, and it's the ultimate aim of the Super League, I think, was to make a worldwide league. What they would have done was basically picked those players up, that management up, and moved them to another City Group football club. Now, if you look at the NFL, look at the Raiders in the NFL. The Raiders just been moved to Las Vegas because in Oakland, there's no appetite for it. No one wants it. So the NFL moved that franchise, dragged it, dropped it in Vegas, and now they are the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I honestly think that the ultimate aim of the Super League was to become a FIFA-endorsed league. And this is why FIFA was sort of passive about it, because they wanted to be on the right side of history. They wanted to look like they were doing the right thing and stand up against these clubs, but they also wanted to capitalise and make that world league that they want, really. They want it to be a world game. They want a world league, including the likes of Boca Juniors and River Plate, and maybe a couple of Asian sides, whoever they may be, and Australian sides, and we have a world domestic league. And I honestly think that that's what these clubs were going to do. They were going to buy up clubs and franchise them and make a City Football Group where if it's no appetite for it in one place, we just pick them up and move them to another place, and where there is appetite for it. So we pick Liverpool up. We pick Liverpool Redbirds up. We move them to, let's say, fucking Mumbai, and they become Mumbai Redbirds. And then the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Alisson and Jordan Henderson then play for Mumbai Redbirds. And Jurgen Klopp is the manager of Mumbai Redbirds and no longer Liverpool.
Just come out then as well, the Premier League has asked the Big Six to remove themselves from the committee.
So they have no power now.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of the end for them, isn't it? I don't know how democratic that is. I don't know if you can do that, to be fair, because they need some form of representation. I don't know if there's any way you can sort of like strip them of rights in some way. I just don't know if it's right that you remove them from the committee.
But the fact that they've asked them, I think they can't remove them. They've asked them to step down, so the clubs are just going to say nah.
Yeah. You know what they should do? Next meeting they have, no one invite them. Yeah. You organise behind their backs, just fucking no one invite them. They're having a big house party and leaving out that one annoying mate, innit? Don't tell him I'm having a party, lad.
It's been trending on Twitter today of John Henry Bowser's Mbappe. All is forgiven. What's your stance on that?
That's the problem. People like that are the problem. And people, Matty, this is infuriating. People like that are exactly why they thought they could get away with it. Because people like that are the FIFA generation. They're the fans that they're trying to engage. The people who support the players, not the club. The people who see these players on FIFA with an 89 fucking rating or whatever it is, don't play FIFA, it's shit. But you see these ratings on FIFA, and they're great players just because they're rated 89 on FIFA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the problem, is that I honestly have a feeling we'll go out and get, or they'll if we went out and bought Mbappe in the summer, that would appease some people, and it's not right. It's not what we want, and it's not what we want our owners to do anyway. I don't want them to go out and buy players for £160 million. For as much as they are investing in the team lately, I actually quite like that we've done it on a shoestring, that we are as successful as we are based on
selling,
using our net spend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All right, if you want to call it a selling club, then so be it. But I quite like that we sold Coutinho for 140 million, and with that money went out and bought Alisson and Van Dijk, and that they were the missing pieces.
Yeah.
I quite like that we only get £40 million a year to spend on transfers, and we have to make the rest ourselves. And we've been so successful in doing that. I think that's a really good story, and it's a sustainable business model.
Yeah.
I think that's really that again, from a business point of view, that's something that clubs should look up to. I don't want them to go out and start splurging on Haaland or Mbappe or whoever the fucking next flavour of the month is, just to appease some fans on Twitter, because then that proves them right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It proves what they wanted, right? That the FIFA generation will be happy if we just go out and sign this fella. That's not what anyone wants. Let's go out and unearth the next Mbappe. Let's go and pay buttons and turn some kid into a star. Let's give Harvey Elliott a chance. Let's give Curtis Jones a chance. Let's give Rian Brewster a proper chance.
Would you take that over what we've had in recent years, like giving more kids a chance, keeping this business model, not investing, like being like a sell to buy club sort of thing, and not winning something every year, but still being there or thereabout, but seeing our own progress through, like Curtis and like Harvey Elliott?
Yeah, because that's what football's about, though, isn't it, Matty? This is the point that everyone's been making over the past few days, is that's what sport is. You're not going to be successful every year. You're not going to be top of the league every year. But if you want to be, you've got to earn it. And it's so much more satisfying when you do earn it. Yeah. And I'd much rather see a team of 11 Scousers. And for as much as I love the big players we've got, and as much as I love Jordan Henderson, I'd rather see 11 Trent Alexander-Arnolds on the pitch. I'd rather see 11 Scousers pull on a Liverpool shirt, pulled from fields like the Reggie Smith in Netherley, or from the Shankleys, or from, off Clubmore, or off the Civ, or the Jeffrey Humble, or wherever they come from. And those kids dream of playing for this club. And that's their dream, that's what they want. My dream, I was shy, my dream was just to go to a European Cup final. I just wanted to see Liverpool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But these kids out there in this city, and if you watch football in the city on any given Sunday morning, you will see top quality players at every age, on every level, who could have or can still make it. They just need a chance. I'd rather just go out and get a kid like that from one of those fields and give them a proper chance, nurture them properly, bring them through, have Scouse blood in the team, have the club running through them, as opposed to going and spending 150 million and $500,000 wages a week on Erling Haaland just because his the agent's been prostituting himself around Europe trying to find the highest bidder, like he's selling them on fucking eBay.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not what football is. It's not what we want it to be.
Should scrap agent fees altogether, shouldn't he? Scrap agent fees altogether. What's the point? I don't understand why a club can't just ring a player and say, do you want to come here? We'll offer you this. What's the point in the middleman? Scrap them altogether.
Exactly. They're not needed. They're leeches.
Yeah.
They come in and they charge astronomical fees. And what did he do? He organised a contract. He negotiated. Can't that player organise his own contract?
Yeah. Kevin De Bruyne did it, didn't he? Used analysts. Kevin De Bruyne used analysts to show how worthy he was to the Manchester City team. Didn't use any agents. Used all data to prove where City would be without him to get his new contract.
I guarantee if you got rid of agents, you would see the players that want it. Players like De Bruyne, who are willing to do it all themselves, who are willing to, like, he paid out of his own pocket, willing to pay out their own pocket to prove how important they are to the team and to prove where that club is going.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's getting 350 grand a week now, Kevin De Bruyne, which is fucking silly money. And he probably could have went for 70 plus million, again, which is silly money. But fair play to him for going out and not checking how much money he's going to earn over the next few years, but checking how many trophies he's going to have in his cabinet when he retires. And the probability of that happening. And they're players you want at your club. They're the players you want at your club who are willing to go off their own back and do background checks on your club. You don't want players at your club that want the highest amounts of money. That are sending the agents around Europe to try and find who's going to give me the most. You want players at your club who are willing who are willing to critique you, who are willing to see what you've got to offer on the pitch, not the other way around.
Before we go then, Chelsea dropped points to Brighton yesterday, so that makes Newcastle a must-win now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes Newcastle a must-win. I mean, Newcastle having a little bit of a mini revival at the minute, aren't they, as well, and the way we've been in Anfield lately. Yeah. It's, well, the past few months, apart from that Aston Villa game, we've been a bit touchy. I think we've been fucked over on Monday with what was going on. I honestly think it was in the players' heads.
Well, I don't think that they've meant to remove the banners off the cops. That could go in the players' heads as well, couldn't it?
Well, he said today that they're not going to do that. Flying cop, they're going to leave the banners on the cop, which I think is the right thing to do. Because I agree with Klopp. To be fair, the players are not wrong. Yeah. Shit like that, it's a sign of withdrawal of the support from the players more than anything. But I think that there's going to be a protest at the ground on Saturday, and I hope it doesn't get through to the players. I think the right way to do this protest now on Saturday, if there is going to be one, is you stand the opposite side of the ground from where the players come in.
Yeah.
And the players don't see it. And maybe you stand outside the Kenny, or you stand outside, outside of the cop or something. Don't stand outside the main stand where the players are going to come in. Don't let them see it. Don't have it in their heads. They'll probably see it on Saturday anyway, but don't make it visible in front of them and real. Just let them concentrate on the football. We are, as it stands, we can't play in Europe next season, which is sad. But there's a very real possibility we'll be allowed to if we qualify. Yeah. So we need to qualify first. We need to earn it, and we need to win football matches. And we've missed a massive opportunity this week on Monday. If we'd have won, we'd have went fourth.
Yeah.
We need to put that right now. We need us as fans need to just get behind the team for now. And we'll deal with all the FS.
Chelsea play West Ham this weekend as well.
There you go. So that's a showdown. So, but even if Chelsea win, they'll go fourth. If West Ham draw, they'll stay fourth.
Yeah.
So we sort of lose for us that game in a way. It's.
With Leicester losing as well, there's two positions up for grabs now. Ultimately, isn't there? I feel like Leicester have been dragged back into that top four race now.
I think they're only a point ahead of West Ham.
Yeah.
To be fair, when they're 3 points clear of Chelsea. So I know we've just said we basically need to vote with our feet and just fuck the owners off and that, but at the same time, the players need our support. We want them to get into Europe because at the end of the day, we're still Liverpool fans. As much as it sickens us now that it benefits the country at the top, it benefits us as well. So they need our support, and I just think on Saturday, for the rest of the season, we should let it go for now.
Yeah.
We don't let it go overall. It's for the benefit of the players, what they've had to put up with the past 24 hours. And we owe them as well because they stuck with us. And I feel like we just need to sort of put it to one side for Saturday at least, park it. We'll do our campaign between match days, and we just give them as much support as we can. Because Saturday, every game between now, the next 6 games are big games for us. We need to win them. And I think Newcastle got a couple of injuries. Saint Maximin looks like he's in belter form.
Yeah.
And we've come and stuck home. So we need to really start looking at stuff on the pitch for Saturday, and it's a massive game.
I mean, St. Maximin against Nat Phillips and Kabak's going to be interesting, innit? But
they'll be sound. He's been boss.
Yeah, I know they've been boss. It's just pace wise, isn't it? That's the only thing that scares me. Vinicius Junior's shown a bit of pace, how much they can destroy us in the Champions League. So that's the only thing that worries me. But I want to sign Kabak. Anyone who says not to buy him, I think's mad.
Yeah, but I mean, we had a little conversation with Kabak after the City game, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think we all accepted after that City game that it wasn't going to happen for him. But to be fair, since then he's. I think the best thing about him, I heard somewhere the other day, he sold his house in Germany. Like he's completely just like, I'm off. I know I'm only on loan, but I've moved to Liverpool. Bye. Do you know what I mean?
Even like that statement though yesterday, Dean, Joe, with what all the players done. The fact he done it, ultimately going against an employer who he wants to buy him this summer. Yeah. I think he's one of the bravest people in the squad to do it.
Probably is. Imagine going for a job interview and then going on Twitter and taking the piss out of the employer.
Yeah.
So you're applying to work for. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that's a massive statement in itself that he was willing to do that. At the same time, he couldn't not, could he? The whole fucking squad doing it. But I agree. I completely agree. I hope we buy Kabak in the summer. It looks. I seen somewhere today that Ibrahim Konate is definitely signing.
It's meant to be announced on May 1st next week.
Yeah, he's meant to be announced next week for 31 million. He's got his injuries apparently as well.
Not that many, if you look at it. It's injuries he's had and times he's missed. He hasn't missed any games really. He's always been available for games. He's missed like internationals and that, but who's really that asked about them.
Well, he's a young lad as well, isn't he? So he's I think he's only 21, 22, so he's probably got enough time to recover from this little injury problem. Messi had a lot of injury. I'm not comparing him to Messi, by the way, but using it as an example, Messi had a lot of injuries early in his career.
Yeah.
So maybe it will, maybe he'll have time to recuperate from it. But I'd rather just sign Kabak. I mean, he's proven it now.
I think you get him cheaper now as well. They got relegated yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think you get him for a lot cheaper.
I think we've got a set price though. We have an agreement in place that we can buy him for 18.5 million. So I think that's a set price. If Michael Edwards can pull off some magic here and get him for a little bit cheaper, just because Schalke have gone down, but we'll probably end up signing for 2 million. No, Michael Edwards.
2 million or Fredo or something.
Yeah, 2 million and fucking John Henry in exchange. Partex and John Henry, but I think Kabak's been a revelation, to be fair. There's a lot about him that looks very Van Dijk.
Yeah.
Like, just the way he saunters on a pitch, just the way he fucking isn't, he doesn't slide tackle, he hardly tackles, he intercepts.
Yeah.
And he intercepts dribbles as much as he intercepts passes. Like, a player will just dribble into him, and he'll just step across, nick the ball, and off we go. The one against Wolves, where the lad's running to clear against Wolves, and he just steps to the side, lets him go onto his weaker foot, and then when the opportunity's there, he accelerates and pokes the ball away. That was very Van Dijk. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to be very impressed about with those.
He's only going to get better learning from Van Dijk as well as he comes back, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's gone on record to say he can't wait to play with Van Dijk.
It's his favourite player, yeah.
Yeah, so fair play to him. I hope we do sign him. But I don't know about this Konate. I do watch a lot of German football, but I actually haven't seen a lot of Konate, to be honest. And I think if Konate sign and we're going to get Kabak, then that signals that one of the lads who are injured are on the way out.
Probably massive, isn't it?
Probably massive, yeah. And poor Nat Phillips as well as he's done.
Do you know what, though, with Phillips, I'm not bothered if he goes. I half want him. He's not going to make it at Liverpool, but for what he's done for us, he's put himself in the shot window, and he's a decent centre-half. Like, I want him to go and do well in a Premier League side. It's like what Conor Cody's done. He's given us all to the club for all these years. Like, I wouldn't be bothered if Nat Phillips goes to Norwich or Burnley if they sell Ben Mee or something, or Tarkowski. Like, I wouldn't be bothered. I'd be made up to see him actually doing well. He just seems like a proper footballer, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like a proper old school centre half. But then I think letting him go for free is silly in a way, because I think there'll be clubs willing to buy.
I think he's still got a year on his deal, I think we can still sell him in the summer.
I thought it was done in the summer.
When he come back for the Everton game, he got like an extension or something. I've seen loads on Twitter, and when he went back to Stuttgart, he had an extension, so he's still got 1 year left. Alright,
well I hope that's the case then, because I think he deserves another year, to be fair, and then maybe sell him in next January or something, even if I don't even care how much it's for. I just think it's mad letting a player go who's in Delta form, letting him go for free.
Yeah.
So I think if we were to sell him, he's not going to get into the squad once everyone's fit. Once Gomez and Van Dijk are back, Matip will probably leave. Once those two are back, and we sign Konate and we sign Kabak, he's probably not going to get into the squad, is he? So, but he's done enough to put him, as you said, put himself in the shop window over the past 6 months, where even if he didn't play at all next season, this 6 months has shown what he can do, and we sell him for, say, 2 or 3 million, which is fair enough. So, yeah, and we pay, come off the academy, so we pay not for him, so it makes sense. So I'm completely for signing Kabak. Don't know about Konate. Phillips is probably going to leave. Matt is probably going to leave. Get Van Dijk and Gomez back and FSG out.
That's the way we'll leave it. Before we go, though, what do you reckon? What score? Kings Newcastle?
2-0.
2-0 the Reds.
To the Reds, yeah.
Clean sheet at Anfield.
Let's get on a roll at some point. Let's get a clean sheet finally.
If you watched on YouTube, don't forget to like, rate and subscribe and all that. We've been Redscast, and thanks one for watching.